Our focus is one, if not the most important tool we have at our disposal in a learning process. How we use it determines whether it is working for or against us. Now, it might look very innocent or insignificant in a learning process as Argentine tango, but when I tell you that it is factor number one, which is blocking and inhibiting your evolution in tango, we might find a gateway to the realization of your potential. Now, when I talk about focus, where do I localize this? Where is this situated in our teaching? Our teaching consists out of 3 different levels, which is, first of all, the level of the mind, in which we have focus, concentration, intention of movement, and intensity of movement. The second level of our teaching consists out of the elaboration or the development of mechanisms of movement in the body and mechanisms of communication. To go to the third level, which is the elaboration of figures and sequences as a consequence of the 2 previous levels. Now, focus is an element that we saw in the first level, the level of the mind. And how is it working or working against us? Looking at contemporary teachings, we often find that they teach women to focus on the torso of men in order to obtain information on his lead. If it has not been taught to women, women have taken this habit, this behavior by natural reflex, which is entirely normal because she is in a following mode, so she has to obtain her information from somewhere through some of these means. But the consequences of this behavior are tremendous towards the dancing, the dynamic, and her own evolution. Now, what do I mean by that? If the woman is focusing on the torso of men, she is mentally projecting her attention through her eyes on his torso. Now, this torso becomes now the point of reference, becomes now a fixation point, in which she becomes entirely dependable on the reflex or what is happening on impulses in this torso. What is really happening is that she left herself. She is no longer present with herself. She is not present in her own body, so she loses the perception on her own body, on her own movement, and on the environment where she is dancing. So all crucial and necessary aspects or characteristics which are needed in order for her own development are missing. On top of that, this mental projection occurs in the brain, occurs in the mind. On one hand, we are asking women to stop thinking while dancing, not to think and just follow, but in teachings we are stimulating this rational process that generates so much focus, concentration, and tension in the body, which is completely the opposite of what we are expecting from her. And this makes no sense. Now, tango awareness has developed not only the awareness around this dynamic which is happening, but is offering also some very useful tools in order to liberate this circle of dependency. First of all, we are shifting the focus of women back to themselves, that she can now experience her own place her own space and her own environment, which in many cases is experienced as very liberating for women and the state of being they have been aiming for so many years. On secondary, we are elaborating and developing a channel of communication through the arms, through the embrace, where the impulse now is not only felt by the physical contact, but also the intensity of the impulse is felt and determines immediately the information that the woman needs in order to move and to go the distance. Whereas the mental process of focusing on the torso, interpreting the information and reacting or acting in order to reproduce the information or movement requires always this entire process, which is always subject on delay. So, by this aspect and these insights, I hope you will notice that tango awareness is offering a way out on this behavior, on this circle that keeps women 5, 10 and 20 years dancing in the same modus without really experiencing or having the possibility to address their potential and experience the dance they are so longing for, to have a graceful and a beautiful movement, to feel beautifully in their dancing.